and good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to This Is Now. I'm Dylan Ancheta in the H&N Digital Center. We want to begin with some breaking news today. A short time ago, the Board of Water Supply wrapped up a news conference announcing that they are filing a $1.2 billion claim against the Navy in light of the Red Hill water crisis. Let's go ahead and play a portion of that conference.
This journey on Red Hills began for me in 2014. But since the crisis or disaster, we're approaching the 2-year anniversary. So with the 2-year anniversary of the environmental disaster caused by fuel releases from the Red Hill bulk fuel storage facility approaching, the Honolulu Board of Water Supply has filed a $1.2 billion claim with the U.S. Navy under the Federal Tort Claims Act, FTCA, to recover costs associated with responding to the Red Hill drinking water contamination crisis. The filing under the FTCA is the first step in the cost recovery process and essential to preserving the Board of Water Supply's legal rights. The Navy is responsible for the massive environmental and human health crisis caused by the releases of petroleum and other hazardous substances that are occurred at the Red Hill fuel facility.
When we're talking about the fact that this is an aquifer that we all share, when we're talking about the fact that we're isolated 2,500 miles from other sources of drinking water, that it's really important that we get this right. And it's really important that not only the Board of Water Supply as the purveyor have the ability to provide safe and affordable and clean drinking water for our customers, but it's important that we do so for future generations, so that this isn't just about this time in 2023 and what decisions are being made right now, but this is about how it is that we make sure that we have the resources available for all of our customers as we move forward.
And at that press conference was our Mahealani Richardson, and she is standing by live now. We're going to send things over to her. Mahealani, why is this so significant?
Well, Dylan, it is very significant. The Board of Water Supply filed this administrative claim under the Federal Tort Claims Act last month, but there is a 2-year statute of limitations, so they needed to file it within the 2-year statute of limitations. Also, in terms of history, you may recall it's been almost 2 years from that Navy tainted water crisis where fuel leaked from the Red Hill fuel tanks, then contaminated the Pearl Harbor drinking water system and sickened thousands of people. That incident happened 2 years ago, Thanksgiving weekend. So very significant on 2 different fronts. Now, the military or the Board of Water Supply says that it needs to recover costs associated from the Red Hill fuel crisis, and the bulk of that is from its closure of its public halava shaft. You may recall that shortly after the crisis happened in November 2021, it shut down indefinitely the public's halava shaft, and that shaft services water for Honolulu residents from Halava all the way to Hawaii Kai. So there have been multiple costs incurred by the Board of Water Supply that it wants to get back from the Navy. And it said that at this point in time, there is no lawsuit, but they're a matter of process now. So what has happened is that the Board of Water Supply has filed this administrative claim. The Navy now has 6 months to respond or not respond. And depending on that response, then the Board of Water Supply could go ahead and then file a lawsuit against the Navy. Now, it is widely anticipated that this would lead to years of litigation. And so I asked Ernie Lau, the Board of Water Supply Manager and Chief Engineer, is the Board of Water Supply prepared for years of litigation against the Navy when the Board of Water Supply needs new water sources now? It needs new revenue sources right now. And the simple answer from Ernie Lau was yes. Dylan, back to you.
Mahea, thank you so much for that. You mentioned briefly the next steps and how long this could take. Any other thoughts from Ernie Lau on exactly what will happen next, what the Navy will say, any indication of their next steps? What is that looking like?
Well, it's important to note that we did reach out to the Navy for a response, and they said that they are formulating a response today. So we're waiting for that. But the Board of Water Supply said while it is thankful and grateful to the Joint Task Force for defueling Red Hill by gravity, that gravity defueling is almost complete, Ernie Lau said the job is not done. These fuel tanks are now 80 years old, and there is so much contamination still left in the environment that needs to be remediated. Some of the other issues that the Board of Water Supply needs to handle is huge rate increases that will be decided on Monday. So you've got rate increases, it has infrastructure costs, and all of these costs associated with Red Hill. So the job, according to Lau, is not done.
Our Mahealani Richardson at the Board of Water Supply headquarters. Mahealani, thank you so much. We'll be sure to stick with this story throughout the rest of the day. We want to go ahead and give you an update now on the military aircraft that went down in waters off Kaneohe Bay yesterday.
There still aren't a lot of new details at this hour from Marine officials or any other military officials on exactly how this happened. But let's get you a look down to that aircraft that's still in the water at this hour, and it will likely be there for some time. Running you through the initial details, we did get confirmed from the military that Navy P8 Poseidon jet overshot the runway just before 2 in the afternoon. All 9 personnel on board, they were part of a group from Washington. They were able to get off the plane safely without injury. Of course, there's difficult to see a lot of detail this far away, but we did get some video into our newsroom yesterday afternoon. A source with knowledge of the base, airfield, and conditions says those pilots were trying to land on a wet runway with a tailwind from the east-northeast. Nobody, again, was hurt in this. Booms, which are those chemical absorbent socks designed to surround high-concentration chemicals, they've been deployed in the water to prevent any hazardous material from spreading into the bay further. No word on how much jet fuel or oil may have been on board at the time. We reached out to our aviation expert and former pilot Peter Foreman, who tried to provide some context and give an idea of what those conditions were like and the thought process the pilot may have been going through.
He's setting up and doing the best he can, but you know what, at some point it just gets to the point where you realize it's not looking too good. It's getting too dicey. Maybe you're coming in too fast, you're touching down too long. And at some point, you just have to make that tough decision to say, okay, we're aborting this attempt. We're going to go back up in the sky and try it again. But remember, if they're landing in a Kona direction on Kaneohe, he's pointing towards the mountains on a rainy day. So it just makes the whole operation that much more dicey, a little scarier going around.
Again, important to note, the military hasn't spoken on how this occurred, whether or not there was a mechanical problem with the aircraft, pilot error, or it was simply just the dangerous conditions, low visibility and a wet runway. We are waiting to learn more, but those investigations usually don't happen quickly. The Boeing P8 Poseidon jet, again, mostly used for detecting submarines, reconnaissance, and other missions. And again, that crew based out of Washington State was here completing a training mission when this happened. Again, they're all okay. We'll continue to update you with any new details that come into our newsroom. For now, we'll send things back into the studio.
New today, a 44-year-old man is in custody in an apparent road rage shooting case in the Nu'uanu area. It happened on the evening of October 21st. Police say Sydney Tafokitau was involved in an argument with another driver. That driver approached Tafokitau's vehicle on foot when he allegedly shot at him multiple times before driving off. The victim is a man in his 30s and was hospitalized in critical condition. Tafokitau was arrested yesterday afternoon. He faces an attempted murder charge. A judge has ordered a psychiatric patient charged with murder to be held without bail until his trial in January. An attorney for Tommy Carvalho pleaded not guilty on his behalf. The 25-year-old is accused of stabbing nurse Justin Bautista to death last week at a transitional housing unit at the Hawaii State Hospital. Bautista worked as a nurse at the facility and was originally from Kauai. The judge said Carvalho is a danger to the community.
The court believes that currently there is no condition or combination of conditions that will reasonably assure the appearance of the person and the safety of any other person in the community.
Carvalho has a history of mental illness and violence. 2 years ago, his family made a GoFundMe page pleading for help and claiming the state health department was not giving him the care he needed. Carvalho is expected to be sent back to the state hospital to determine if he's mentally fit for trial. And on Hawaii Island, lawyers made their opening statement Monday in the murder trial of Patricia Wong, who's charged in the 2009 shooting death of Casey Smith. That happened in Puna. Police say Wong and her co-defendant, Peter Fuerte, tried to make the shooting look like it was a suicide.
We're here because a 21-year-old woman named Casey Smith trusted Patricia Wong. That trust cost Casey her life.
In this case, the evidence will show that the circumstantial evidence the state has against Patricia Wong is just not sufficient.
The trial continues today, and we'll be sure to have more on this in later editions of Hawaii News Now. We turn now to the conflict in the Middle East, where sources say authorities have been keeping a close eye on a possible deal for the release of hostages being held by Hamas. CBS's Natalie Brand has the details.
Families of hostages taken in the October 7th Hamas attacks lit candles in Tel Aviv and prayed for the safe return of their loved ones.
I think the only thing that I could call justice is bringing everyone back home.
Their renewed plea comes as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is seeking government approval for a deal that would lead to the release of dozens of hostages. In exchange, there would be a 6-hour pause in fighting for 4 days. Sources familiar with the agreement tell CBS News. The deal would allow for an initial group of 50 hostages to be released in phases, with Israel releasing 3 Palestinian prisoners for each hostage held by Hamas.
We are hopeful to have some good news for the hostages and their families. We're hopeful we can start bringing some of them home. But as I said at the outset, we are not quite there yet.
Among the hostages are 10 Americans, including a 3-year-old. Children will be prioritized as part of the deal the U.S. helped negotiate.
We're now very close, very close. We could bring some of these hostages home very soon, but I don't want to get into the details of things because nothing is done until it's done.
The deal would also allow more aid, including fuel and supplies into Gaza, where civilians are desperate for food and water. For now, fighting in the region rages on, with Israeli forces moving into a town 2.5 miles north of Gaza City. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
Over in Hilo, the Pacific Tsunami Museum is asking for kokuo from the public to help keep their doors open. Mark Carpenter has the story.
Founded in response to the deadly Hilo tsunami of 1960, the Pacific Tsunami Museum has spent the last 30 years educating communities across the state and around the world. It's also a memorial to the victims of the Hilo disaster and a tragic reminder of how destructive tsunamis can be. Now museum leadership is asking for help to continue their work. The facility has fallen into a major state of disrepair with a number of issues, including no air conditioning, a leaking roof, and mold treatment, which has already cost thousands to remediate. Museum official Walter Dudley says a full repair of the building would cost a couple $100,000, but any bit would be greatly appreciated.
We're the only museum in the United States whose mission is to save lives. And Hilo is the most affected community in the entire United States. It's had the greatest death toll from previous tsunamis. It is a critical part of our community, and we definitely need to continue with our mission, to not forget those lost, to serve as a memorial to them, to share the amazing stories we have of survivors, and then to save lives through education.
Dudley also adds that every year that goes by without a tsunami, the odds of another tsunami increase, underscoring the importance of continuing education. If you'd like to help, we've posted a link on our website. Mark Carpenter, Hawaii News Now.
And happening today, a celebration of a new age for the Dell Center. The facility is undergoing a $43 million renovation project with improvements to the arena, Hawaii Suites, exhibition hall, and concert hall. Today, a blessing ceremony is taking place at the arena, which has been closed since May. The first scheduled event there is set for December 9th, which is a concert from American Idol winner Iyam Tangi. Let's go ahead and take you live outside now. This is a look at downtown Honolulu, Pu'uwaina, more commonly known as Punchbowl, through the eyes of one of our tower cameras there. It is a beautiful day. There are a lot of clear skies, almost a completely different story from what it was yesterday when that weak front rolled through the islands. It brought us some more increased showers, but today the conditions are beautiful. Coming up after this short break, our Guy Hagi will have a look at your extended Thanksgiving forecast, and we'll also have some other holiday stories in store for you. Stay tuned.
How's it on this Tuesday? The cold front that moved through the state yesterday is kind of stalled right now. We'll still see some scattered showers, especially from Maui to Kauai. Now, there's some moisture coming up from the south, probably going to affect the south and east sides of Hawaii Island. And those winds will run brisk and breezy today, except for Kona. We'll have winds running about 15 to 20 miles an hour, but softer winds with fewer showers due in by tomorrow. So enjoy today. We're getting some much needed rainfall. Going to be a little damp, yes, but we still are expecting drier conditions by the afternoon, so temperatures will be a little bit warmer, and the winds will still be running pretty swift at about 15 to 20 miles an hour. Surf is still elevated for north and west shores. High surf alerts remain posted. The swell is dropping, but still big. It's still dangerous. A bigger swell is due on Thursday. That swell will likely trigger statewide high surf warnings. And the weather is slowly getting better. Still going to be a little damp today with some scattered showers. Drier by tomorrow. Variable winds due by Thanksgiving. We'll see lots of sunshine, although over the weekend, look for another cold front with more clouds and more showers.
Thank you so much, Guy, for that forecast. Well, the Biden administration is announcing what it is hailing as the single largest investment in environmental justice. The program takes the form of $2 billion in grants supporting local clean energy efforts in underserved areas. Tuesday's announcement kicks off a year-long process for communities to apply for the grants. The money, which comes from the Inflation Reduction Act, is expected to fund at least 150 projects at $10 to $20 million each. Disadvantaged communities have traditionally been hit harder by air and water pollution. EPA officials say the goal is to also make local communities more resilient to extreme weather sparked by climate change. Time to check out some news from the feeds. Black Friday is almost here, but shoppers already have some options with some of those sales already being posted online. Gordon Severson has more.
At Target in Edina, managers are getting ready for a busy week.
Deals from electronics to toys, beauty, style, lots of great value.
Rich Dean has been the store director here for 5 years, and during that time he has seen a lot of Black Friday shopping shift away from in-store to online, and their Target pickup service, which he says has been very popular this year.
You're not going to see the same crowds that you did maybe 10 years ago in terms of in-store, but it's going to be a busy day.
Analysts agree. Looking through the deals, there is very little incentive to shop in-store this year, unless you enjoy the experience of being out with other shoppers.
You may find here and there a doorbuster deal at a store that's not available online, or an online exclusive that's not available in stores. But for the most part, you're going to find the same prices anywhere and everywhere.
Samantha Gordon at Consumer Report says several retailers are offering great deals on TVs this year. At Target, they're selling this 70-inch Westinghouse TV for $300. Gordon says when you're buying the cheapest TV in the store, though, just remember you're often buying an older model, and you're often giving up some quality.
They are very, very cheap for a reason, so you just have to be careful.
Wallet Hub analyzed more than 3,500 Black Friday deals this year to see which retailers are offering the deepest discounts. For toys, Macy's, JCPenney, Kohl's, Target, and Walmart round out the top 5. Overall, Wallet Hub says toy discounts are averaging about 33% off, shown here in purple. The deepest discounts, however, are actually in jewelry at 54% and clothing at 42%.
And if Black Friday shopping isn't really your thing, they did start earlier this year, and a lot of retailers are telling me that they're also going to be pushing the deals further into December this year as well. So you do have a lot of time to get your holiday shopping done this year.
That was Gordon Severanson reporting. We want to turn now to a preview of the next Investigates TV episode. Take a look.
The nature of work took a hard turn during this pandemic, and American workers aren't ready to go back to the way it was. The Bankrate survey indicates that about 9 of 10 workers really do have a preference for some combination of a 4-day work week, hybrid work, and remote work, almost universally. Mark Hamrick, senior economic analyst for Bankrate, says this trend could continue.
In terms of worker preferences, the secret's out. The genie is out of the would-be bottle. And to the degree that workers know that these are options for many kinds of jobs, they are going to continue to seek this kind of workplace flexibility in some fashion.
The popularity of the changing workplace preferences are most notable by generation. Gen Xers stand apart as the generation far less likely to support a 4-day work week than Gen Zers, millennials, and even baby boomers.
Our Bankrate survey found that many people are willing to change jobs or industries. They're willing to come into the office more if needed. They're even willing to take a pay cut or fewer vacation days in some instances. And so I think ultimately we all need to try to make this work to the degree that it can work.
Hamrick cautions if you're looking for a new job, you do have to have some realism in the sense of what is actually feasible for a job in the field that you're looking in. Think about your salary requirements if you are demanding remote work, and also compare benefits for jobs that are in office and out of the office. And he says think long term before making a big change for a remote role. Consider your future salary and career goals. With this Watch in Your Wallet, I'm Rachel DePompa.
In today's Good News Now, it's the story of a century-old book finally finding its way back to the St. Paul Public Library. David Schumann has the story.
For some book lovers, what's the first thing you do when you get your hands on an old book?
Yeah, I was smelling it. I want to say it smells like fire, but that would be ridiculous. It doesn't smell like fire. It smells like a very cool old book.
But this book's different. This copy of Famous Composers Volume 2 was checked out from the St. Paul Public Library in 1919. It found its way back this week.
A community member found it while cleaning out her, I think it's her grandmother's home. An over 100-year-old book, and it's about 100 years late to coming back to the library.
These stamped dates tell a story in a way. Library staff believe the book may have survived a fire in 1915 that led to a new location, the current Central Library downtown.
It's in relatively fragile condition. So here at the front, the binding is really cracked. It feels really awesome to hold it in my hand.
Okay, let's do some overdue fines math. The book was checked out for 104 years, which is roughly 38,000 days. at a penny a day, and that's being conservative because the fine eventually went up to 25 cents a day. That's roughly $380.
Lucky for the family, though.
We eliminated late fines in 2019 at the St. Paul Public Libraries.
Phew. With the book returned and that out of the way, the library says it'll eventually be put on display in their historical collection.
And I think it's a really good reminder about how relevant and important libraries are, both now and 100 years ago as well.
In St. Paul, David Schumann, WCCO News.
Well, if you haven't already, check out your local library. You might find a gem like that. We got one more good news story for you. Check this out here. Operation Santa is underway at the U.S. Postal Service. This week marks the earliest kickoff ever for the 111-year-old program. It helps ensure children's letters to Santa make it to elves and human helpers who assist with the gifts. Now, if you and your child wants to participate, you'll need to use your full name, a return address, a stamp, and Santa's correct address, which is, according to the USPS, 123 Elf Road, North Pole, 88888. So go ahead and check that out. Send a letter to Santa. You might get a message back. Let's send you live outside now to Hilo. As you can see, the rain is rolling there. Completely different story from here on Oahu. Thanks for watching, everyone.